The Great War was the war to end all wars. I think it was the war to intensify all wars. This had many new inventions to bring to war: tanks, planes, and submarines. Most had no conflict to bring with them, but how the Germans used submarines brought a new way of war. Military conflicts bring out the worst in humanity. Unrestricted submarine warfare during World War I was case in point. Any ship was fair game. It was more dangerous to be a merchant sailor than a soldier. At the time, the Nazis were struggling and did this out of pure desperation. Although coming to this decision brought conflict for both sides, but ultimately ended with the solution of America joining the war. The solution took many months to come to, and in between, it was a struggle for both. One of the main reasons they used submarines are here. They were easier to make. They weighed 1,000 tons, so it took less materials. This also made them faster to build. They had, by the end of the war, 334 complete U-boats and 226 under construction. Another reason was that they were first to use submarines in battle. This took the UN by surprise, and many merchant ships were sunk. They also made it so that they did not know how to fight them. Though there was only 375 submarines, only 202 were sunk, but they sunk 2,600 merchant ships. The Kaiser was the one who announced this. They did this because of the Battle of Jutland. They knew they could not defeat the Royal Navy. The Kaiser's real name was William II. He was the Emperor of Germany.
In his heart of hearts, I think he was a weak and insecure man who tried to compensate by being outspoken.
Überspielte durch besondere Forschheit.
During his 30 years on the throne, Wilhelm saw himself as the personification of German nationalism.
For me, Germany was the Kaiser. And when we saw him, we could not contain our excitement and would shout, "Hurrah!"
At first they had good victories, but then they became rare. The problem was that America was constantly crossing the Atlantic frequently. So when attacking neutral ships, they could not attack American ones, for the fear of them entering the war. The United States had sent a note to Berlin saying that all American ships sunk was on Germany. Then on May 7th, 1915, the British liner Louisiana. This was the first of many Americans to die to unrestricted warfare. A total of 128 Americans were on the boat. All died. This outraged the President Woodrow Wilson. This did not make America join the war, but brought them closer to it. On July 23rd, he wrote to Germany, "All U-boats must come to the surface and use a newly fitted deck guns to sink ships, but only after inspecting for contraband. If none, they could sail the port they wish. If they found some, then they would sink the ship after the crew got on lifeboats." Though this was the case, the German Navy did not do this. They thought it was too dangerous. Some new merchant ships were fitted with concealed weapons. Then after that, on June 6, 1915, the Kaiser ordered all large liners, neutral or not, to not be attacked. Then, without warning, a liner named the Arabic was 9 Americans were on board. Then the Kaiser ordered that they followed the rule of letting all passengers have a chance at escaping. He then changed his naval chief of staff. He gave the position to Hotzendorf. On September 18th, he ordered that they use the cruiser tactic, surfacing before attack. The Navy responded by ending all U-boat activity around the British Isles. They did this because the tactic was too dangerous. March 4th, 1916 was when the Kaiser, Falkenhayn, for unrestricted warfare, and Hallwig was also there against it. They were meeting to discuss using unrestricted warfare again. Hallwig had 2 points. 1. It will cause America to join. And 2. There was only 14 submarines able to operate around Britain. The Kaiser could not make up his mind, and he said that he would announce his decision on March 13th. He didn't. At the same time in America, the past president, Teddy Roosevelt, was starting protests to enter the war against Germany. He had much support of the people. This was pushing the U.S. to join the war. The Kaiser then made up his mind in April. This was kept secret from America. They attacked a cruiser, and 2 Americans were injured. Woodrow Wilson believed they died and sent a note to Germany, threatening to break diplomatic ties. Hallwig took this very seriously, and all submarine activity was out of British waters. Although Falkenhayn still kept his efforts to persuade the Kaiser, he lost to Hallwig, and Germany agreed to international law. In the mid-1916s, the Navy was working against Halleck and the new General of Army Staff. He was for unrestricted warfare, even though Halleck got him the position. Most of the Navy believed that there was only one option was unrestricted warfare. By 1917, Germany had 46 large subs and 23 small U-boats. They believed that they would sink 600,000 tons of shipping. In 1916, Britain had a bad harvest, and Germany believed that they can starve them within 5 months. They believed that America would not enter the war based on unsure politicans. In his memoirs, Halleck wrote that no nation will stand for not winning a war when it's convinced it can win. January 9th, the Navy won over the Kaiser, and on February 1st announced unrestricted submarine warfare. Wilson broke diplomatic relations with Germany to make them rethink their decision. This did not happen. The British intelligence intercepted a message to Mexico offering to support them if America entered the war. Wilson summoned Congress and entered the war on April 6, 1970.
The events about to unfold before us happened over 40 years ago. Perhaps you were among the crowd that stormed the Capitol on that fateful day in 1917. Some shouting for war, some crying for peace. Inside the White House, President Woodrow Wilson conferred with advisors, then signed the proclamation of war against Germany. The men present here are gone.